My dog is like right underneath my feet. He's not moving. Hi, it's Sarah, and I'm here with my July wrap up. July was an amazing month for me. I read 9 books. That is crazy. I don't think I've had a month like that since probably January. I had a really great month, so I'm gonna go with it. Okay, so the first book that I started out with this month is I finished up A Quart of Mr Fury by Sarah J Maas, and this is the second book in her Court of Thorns and Roses series. It's the newest release, and I I believe in my TBR, I was to a point where I think it was about 200 or so pages into it, and I wasn't feeling it quite yet. I wasn't quite sure what all the hype was about. You know, I was like, I've read 200 pages of this, come on. But once I hit like page 250, I flew through it. So I started out the month on page 200, and then July 1st, I read the rest of the book, like the entire thing. And it's an over 600-page book. So it got really good really quick for me. And I literally could not put it down. I spent that entire day just completely reading this book, and it was so good. I'm really glad that I didn't give up on it. I didn't really think about giving up on it. I wanted to finish it out, but I'm really glad that I pushed through and got those other 50 pages in, because once I hit that spot, it was just, I was a goner. It was so good. I really, really enjoyed it. And this one was 5 stars for me. So I'm not going to go into a synopsis because I don't want to give any spoilers for the series, but it's very good. If you are a fantasy reader or you want to try out some fantasy, this is a great series to start with. So 5 stars for me. The second book that I read is something that I actually finished. I started it a while ago, and it was an audiobook. So I only really listen to audiobooks when I'm either in the car or at the gym. So I hadn't been going to the gym for a while, so I wasn't listening to it, but I finally started going back to the gym, and I got back into this audiobook, and that is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. And I really enjoyed the audiobook. I really enjoyed the narrator. It was Will Patton, and he was a very good narrator for the book, so I enjoyed listening to him. The book was just okay for me. I liked it. I didn't love it because I still don't fully understand it. And I was paying attention to it. It wasn't like I had it on and just wasn't paying attention. I was listening. And I think I kind of get it, but I really think I just need to continue to really see how things are going to play out. And yeah, it was interesting, but I don't know. I'm not getting the hype quite yet. So I'm going to continue, most definitely. But this basically, it's kind of a magical realism type of book. And it follows a group of 4 boys called the Raven Boys, and a girl named Blue who is a psychic. She comes from a family of psychics, and they are trying to find some sort of artifact or something like that that's supposed to hold something, maybe powers. See, I'm not really 100% sure. But a lot of these powers fall like under these things that are called ley lines that are like underneath the earth, I think, in where they live. I don't know. It's confusing, but I want to keep going and give the second book a try. And if I'm getting it more after the second book, then I'll keep going. But yeah, so 3 stars for me for the Raven Boys. Wasn't the best thing I've read, but I didn't hate it, and I do want to continue. So, and the next book I read was a review book that I got from Blue Rider Press, and that is She Poured Out Her Heart by Jean Thompson. And I do have a full review of this book up on my channel, and I will go ahead and link it down below if you want to check it out. But I didn't love this one. I actually really didn't enjoy it. I ended up giving it 2 stars. This is a contemporary book about a woman or 2 women who are friends. They meet in college. They continue to stay friends throughout their lives. However, they find themselves in a situation where one of them sleeps with the other one's husband and has an affair with him. So they're dealing with all that. And then the wife, who is involved in this, actually has some psychological issues going on as well. So I didn't love it. And I explain all my feelings in the review, and so you can check it out there if you haven't seen that yet. But yeah, so it wasn't my favorite. This one was 2 stars for me. The next book that I picked up is one that was a big surprise. I was really surprised that I enjoyed it. This one was also sent to me from Putnam, and that is Monsters, a Love Story by Liz Kay. This is another contemporary, and this follows a woman who is a widowed poet, and she has a book of poetry that was published a while ago. Some Hollywood producers get wind of it. They read it, really want to produce it into a full-length feature film, and so she kind of gets drawn into that world. She ends up meeting the actor who is not only helping produce it, but he's also starring in it as one of the main characters, and you see a relationship kind of start to form from there. I loved this book. I was really, really surprised at how much I loved this book, but I mean, I picked it up, I think at like 10 o'clock at night. I picked it up to start it and thought, maybe I'll see if I can knock out like 50 pages. And I read over 100 pages in one sitting, and that is like unheard of for me. So yeah, I loved this book. And I do have a full review kind of going more into depth on my feelings about it and all that. So I'll leave that link down below as well. But this one was 5 stars for me. The next book that I read is actually a book that I had borrowed from my friend, so I don't have a physical copy, but that is The Heir by Kiera Cass. And this is book number 4 in the Selection series. And this one is following a different character in the world of the Selection. So a lot of the same characters are still in it, but it's from a different perspective, basically. It's not the Selection from a different perspective type thing. It's like 20 years later, and then from a different character as well. So I hope that makes sense. But I really enjoyed this one. I won't go into details because I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but you're kind of seeing another round of the Selection, which is basically, it's been called The Bachelor, basically that type of format of what's going on in the book, and it's kind of a dystopian type as well. And yeah, it was really good. I really liked it. I gave it 4 stars. I think the Selection books I gave 5 stars, but this one was 4 for me just because it wasn't from the perspective I was used to, and it just wasn't quite as capturing, not as much action as in the Selection, but it was still good. I still really enjoyed it. Just a fun read. And the next set of books here are going to be books that I read for the Booktubeathon. The first one is I finally finished Inferno. I finally finished it, you guys. I've been reading this since like March, I think. I picked it up for a readathon and got a little bit into it. Didn't pick it up again until just now. But I actually switched to audiobook for this one. So that was good. The audiobook was pretty good. The narrator was fine. He wasn't spectacular, but it was good. And yeah, so this is book number 4 in the Robert Langdon series. And it's been a while since I read one of these books. So I don't think the story is like a big continuation from what happened in the last book. I think there's been enough time that elapsed that this is kind of its own story. But you're, again, following Robert Langdon. They're in Italy. They're going through and trying to find clues to things that are happening, and it's all through the artwork. A lot of this revolves around Dante's Inferno, which is the book Inferno, but also an artwork, a piece of artwork that's supposed to depict Dante's Inferno the way he described it and stuff. So that's kind of what the whole basis around this is. And it was good. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. This is probably the least favorite of Dan Brown for me. And I've read all his books now. This is the only one I hadn't read yet. And I've loved all of his books. But this one really just, there's a lot of science in this one. And that threw me off because when science happens, my brain turned off, like legit. I'm not a sciencey person at all. Science and math, I can't. Give me English any day, but science and math, I just go. So I got a little lost in that kind of stuff, but it was still good. I mean, he's still a fantastic writer. He knows how to move a story along. He knows how to write really good characters. Just not my favorite, but it was still good. So 3 stars for me. All right, the next book that I read, was also sent to me for review from Penguin Random House, and that is The War at Home by Rachel Starnes. I have a review up that I actually just posted this past week of this book. This is a nonfiction book about a military spouse and kind of things that she and her family have gone through in her husband's career as a Navy pilot. I didn't love this one. I had a lot of issues with it. A lot of my issues are stemming from the fact that I myself am a military wife as well. So it was hard for me to not take things personally in this book. And yeah, this was probably the hardest review I've ever written for a book. It took me a few days to write the review because I was trying not to put too many of my own personal emotions in it. And yeah, so I gave this book 3 stars. And yeah, so the book itself is fine. It was really well written, and it was good. Like, she actually had a career in writing and, you know, wanted to be a writer and everything. It was just some of the things that she experienced in the military made the military sound really bad, and I was trying not to take that personally because I love being a military spouse. But I go into much more detail about my feelings about certain things in here in my review, so I will leave my review video down below as well if you want to check it out. But I did give it 3 stars, so I didn't hate it. And the next book that I finished in July is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. This is another one that I picked up in May and then put down and just hadn't picked up again. And I'm so glad I picked it back up, you guys. I adored this. This story was awesome. And it wasn't like a super fast-paced book. It was a slow burn, most definitely. This is a really long series of hers. This is like an entire world that she has built. And there's different trilogies going on throughout. I think there's like 4 or 5 different trilogies, and this is the very first, like very beginning. And I really, really enjoyed this. So this follows a boy named Fitz, and he is kind of orphaned. And then he finds out who his real father is and he's actually royalty, but then his father dies. So he's kind of left abandoned. And he kind of reveals that he has certain talents that can be utilized. So he ends up becoming an apprentice to an assassin, but it's all kept very low key. No one's supposed to know that he is in this role and like this is what's happening. And he ends up being called to be the assassin for the sitting king. Lots of stuff happens. So it's this was very, very, very good. I really enjoyed it. I love the characters. Her writing is phenomenal. Her writing was just blew me away. It was stunning. The way that she wrote was just very fluid and poetic, and I could easily see everything happening in my head. So very good. Really, really happy I finished this, and I definitely can't wait to get on to book number 2. So this one was 5 stars for me. And this book actually helped me knock off one of my authors that I wanted to read this year. So I have a list of 12 authors I wanted to try out, one for each month. I'm very behind on it, but I did get to knock off Robin Hobb because she was on that list. So very happy about that. The last book in July, The Light of Paris. And this was another one that was sent to me from Putnam for review. I have not done my review video yet, but it's going to be coming up this week, so look out for that. So I don't want to go into too many details. I'm going to save it for that. But this book follows a woman named Madeline in 1999, and she is kind of finding herself really lost and finding herself realizing she's unhappy in her marriage and with her life in general. She ends up going back to her hometown called Magnolia and visiting with her mother, who she has lots of issues with, and ends up helping her mother kind of start clearing out some of her house because she's going to sell it. And she finds a box full of her grandmother's journals from when she lived in Paris in 1924. And she kind of goes through those journals and is finding inspiration from her grandmother and learning a new side of her grandmother that she never knew, and seeing a lot of similarities between the two at that certain point in their lives, even though it's like 70 something years apart. So this book actually flips back and forth between Madeline and Margie in 1924, who was her grandmother. So you're going, every chapter you're going back and forth. You're in 1999 and then you're in 1924. So good. This book was just so refreshing and really well written, and it just made me happy. It was lovely. Like, that's kind of the best term I could use to describe it. It was just lovely. I really enjoyed reading it, and it was a faster read than I was expecting it to be, and yeah, I really enjoyed this. So I gave this one 4 stars. It didn't blow me away, but it was really good. It was really good, and I'm really glad that they sent me a copy to be able to read it. But look for my more in-depth thoughts in my review that's going to be coming up later this week. Okay guys, that's it for me. That's 9 books. That is really good. Like, really good. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions, please let me know, and then leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you guys read for the month of July and what your favorites were. I would love to hear that as well. And I'll be back in tomorrow with my August TBR. Hope you guys have a great day. See you soon. Bye.